What if your birth month wasn't random? What if coming into this world in July means your soul carries a sacred responsibility, not just for your own life, but for the healing of your entire bloodline? This might sound far-fetched until you begin to see the patterns. The July-born often feel things more deeply. You may have been called too sensitive or told you care too much. You might notice how conflict seems to swirl around you, not because you create it, but because it finds you, almost like it's asking to be resolved through you. And maybe you've already sensed this, that you're different, that you feel the weight of your family's pain even when no one speaks it aloud, that you've always had an invisible burden to make things better for everyone, even if no one ever asked. Here's the thing. Being born in July places you under the powerful sign of Cancer, the cosmic archetype of the nurturer, the protector, the emotional healer. Whether you believe in astrology or not, there's an undeniable energy that surrounds people born in this month, a calling to be the emotional anchor of their lineage. This video isn't just about birthdays or horoscopes. It's about your purpose. It's about why you've always felt out of sync with the chaos around you, why you might struggle with anxiety, insomnia, or mysterious emotional fatigue, and how all of that ties back to your soul's mission, to heal generations of unspoken wounds. We're diving deep into ancestral trauma, emotional inheritance, the psychological traits of July-born souls, and ancient wisdom that reveals why you were sent here now in this life. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand your role, you'll finally feel the power of it, because you weren't cursed with this sensitivity. You were chosen for this strength. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear might finally explain everything you've ever felt, but couldn't put into words. Ready? Let's begin. Have you ever wondered why you were born into this particular family with those specific challenges? What if your birth in July wasn't a coincidence, but a choice made long before you arrived? A soul contract you signed in the unseen realms. In many spiritual traditions, it's believed that our souls choose their birth conditions, the timing, the parents, even the wounds we're meant to confront. For July-born souls, this choice is rarely easy. It often involves stepping into families burdened by emotional suppression, generational conflict, or unresolved trauma. Does this sound familiar? You may be the one in your family who feels like the outsider, more intuitive, more emotionally aware, and more burdened by the pain others seem to ignore. That's not an accident. You were sent here as a circuit breaker in the karmic line. You are the one who said, "The pain ends with me." Psychologically, this is known as the identified patient, the person in a family who manifests the symptoms of a deeper dysfunction. Spiritually, it means you're the mirror, the one who reflects truth back to the family system, the one who absorbs what others repress. But absorbing that energy isn't your punishment, it's your gift. Because July-born individuals often possess heightened emotional intelligence and a deep sense of empathy, you are capable of seeing what others can't and feeling what others won't. That's your healing superpower, and also your spiritual test. Buddhist teachings tell us that suffering can be the gateway to awakening. The first noble truth, that life contains suffering, is not a sentence of despair but an invitation to transformation. And that's exactly what you're here to do. You didn't come to repeat the pain. You came to transform it. And that begins with recognizing your role, not as the black sheep, not as the problem, but as the healer, as the bridge between the past and the future. You are not broken. You are breaking cycles. Every time you choose compassion over bitterness, reflection over reaction, forgiveness over fury, you are rewriting your family's destiny. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments below. There's power in naming your truth, and healing begins the moment we stop pretending we're fine. There's a reason you've always felt everything, not just your own emotions, but the unspoken tension in a room, the subtle shifts in someone's tone, or the sadness behind a stranger's smile. People born in July often carry a unique kind of emotional radar, one that's both a blessing and a heavy responsibility. This depth of emotion isn't just a personality trait, it's part of your design. Many July-born individuals fall under the zodiac sign of Cancer, symbolized by the crab, a creature with a hard shell and a soft, vulnerable interior. That symbolism is no accident. You've likely built emotional armor to survive in a world that doesn't always honor sensitivity. But underneath that armor lies something rare: empathic strength. Unlike surface-level empathy, your emotional sensitivity often goes hand in hand with a kind of soul-deep intuition. You don't just understand how others feel, you become their feelings. And while that can be draining, it also gives you the ability to truly connect, heal, and comfort in ways most people can't even begin to understand. From a psychological lens, this can look like being the caretaker in relationships, the peacekeeper in family fights, or the person friends call when they're falling apart. Sound familiar? But here's the catch. Emotional depth comes with emotional exhaustion, especially when your gift goes unprotected. You might find yourself lying awake at night, haunted by conversations that didn't even involve you, or suddenly overwhelmed in crowded places, or drained after spending time with certain people. That's not weakness. That's your nervous system trying to process everything it's absorbing. Buddhist wisdom teaches that to be present with suffering, truly present, is one of the highest forms of compassion. But it also teaches balance. Even monks withdraw into silence and solitude to recalibrate their hearts. So if you were born in July and you've been feeling too much for too long, consider this. You were never meant to carry it all alone. Your emotions are sacred. They are data, not drama. They are your internal compass, not a flaw to be fixed. And the world needs that compass more than ever, because while others may ignore the undercurrents of emotional truth, you feel them. You are the pulse reader of the human spirit. Your depth is your medicine, but it becomes a gift to others only when you honor it within yourself first. If this idea speaks to your journey, give this video a like so it reaches others who need it. Have you ever felt a heaviness you couldn't explain? A sadness that didn't seem to belong to you but lingered anyway? Many July-born souls carry what psychologists now call generational trauma, emotional pain passed down like a silent inheritance. You may not have lived through your ancestors' struggles, but their wounds live in your nervous system, your patterns, your reactions. It's as if your soul remembers what history tried to forget. This trauma can show up in strange ways: anxiety with no clear source, deep guilt for wanting boundaries, or an almost irrational fear of abandonment. You might even notice patterns, like attracting emotionally unavailable partners, or constantly feeling the need to prove your worth. And yet the people around you may never acknowledge this. They may say things like, "Stop overthinking," or "Just move on." But how do you move on from something that lives inside you? Science now confirms what spiritual traditions have always known. Trauma can be passed down through generations, not just through stories or parenting styles, but biologically, through epigenetic markers. This means your sensitivity isn't imagined, it's encoded. But here's the miracle: so is your capacity to heal it. People born in July are often the first in their family to question the status quo. You might be the one who dares to go to therapy, who learns emotional language no one around you speaks, who chooses healing over silence. And that makes you a generational alchemist, someone who turns inherited pain into spiritual gold. From a Buddhist lens, this is what it means to walk the Bodhisattva path, to awaken not just for yourself but for the benefit of all beings, and that includes your ancestors. Each time you choose to feel what others numbed, each time you break a toxic cycle, each time you say, "This ends with me," you are liberating not only your own soul but the souls that came before you. It's not easy, and it's not always fair, but it is sacred. The pain you feel may not have started with you, but the healing can. So if you've ever felt like you're carrying more than just your own story, you're not imagining it. You were entrusted with. Have you noticed that wherever you go, conflict follows? Maybe not in obvious ways, but in subtle tension, unspoken misunderstandings, or people projecting their emotions onto you. It can feel like you're constantly navigating emotional landmines others refuse to acknowledge. This isn't because you're the source of chaos. It's because you bring clarity to it. You're a mirror. And mirrors don't cause distortion, they reveal it. Born in July, you likely have a natural ability to feel when something is off. even before anyone says a word. That energy tends to magnetize unresolved tension because your presence itself is catalytic. You don't even have to try. Simply being who you are starts a process in others that makes the unseen rise to the surface. Think about the family member who gets uncomfortable when you speak your truth, or the friend who suddenly becomes distant when you start healing. That's not about you, that's about what you awaken in them. Psychologically, this is the healer's paradox. People are drawn to your light, but also unsettled by what that light reveals. This is why you might find yourself in relationships that start beautifully, but slowly become emotionally exhausting. You're not being punished, you're being refined. These experiences are spiritual training grounds for boundary setting, discernment, and self-trust. And that's part of your mission. From a spiritual perspective, you were given this energetic sensitivity not to fix everyone, but to see clearly. Not to absorb everyone's suffering, but to illuminate the path, even if it means walking away to do so. Buddhist teachings often remind us, don't chase enlightenment, remove what blocks it. Sometimes, those blocks are people who aren't ready to face themselves, and they use you as a shield or a scapegoat. But your job isn't to carry them. Your job is to carry light, and to stay close to those who honor it. If your presence disrupts dysfunction, you're not the problem, you're the pattern breaker. So if life feels chaotic, pause and ask, what is being brought to the surface through me? And what am I being asked to release? If you were born in July, especially under the sign of Cancer, chances are you've spent your life caring for everyone else, holding space, soothing wounds, fixing situations before they fall apart. You're the emotional first responder, always alert to the needs of others. But who does that for you? This is the silent ache of the July soul, giving endlessly and receiving little in return. It's not that people don't love you, it's that they've come to expect you to be strong, calm, available. They don't see the cost of your compassion. They don't notice when your smile is tired or your heart is bruised from trying too hard for too long. The archetype of the Cancer, the mother, the nurturer, is deeply encoded in your energy. You instinctively protect others, often at your own expense. And while this is a beautiful gift, it can quietly become a trap. Psychologically, this is known as the compulsive caregiver, someone who defines their worth by how needed they are. It often stems from childhood experiences where love was conditional. If you were helpful, you were valued. If not, you felt invisible. So you learn to anticipate others' needs and ignore your own. But here's the spiritual truth. Self-neglect is not selflessness. It's a slow erosion of your soul. Even Buddhist monks devoted to compassion begin with metta, loving kindness toward themselves. Because you cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot heal others while slowly unraveling. Your healing begins with this radical idea. You matter too. You deserve rest. You deserve nourishment. You deserve relationships where you are seen, not just needed. And you deserve to receive the same tenderness you so freely give. Mini insight. Nurturing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred maintenance of your souls. Light. If this idea touches something in you, let it. Breathe into it. Maybe this is the message you've needed for a long, long time. Do you often find yourself awake at 2 or 3 a.m., staring into the dark, thoughts racing, heart heavy? If you're born in July, sleepless nights may not just be about stress. They could be spiritual messages knocking on your consciousness. Many emotionally attuned souls, especially those born under the sensitive Cancer sign, report disrupted sleep, vivid dreams, or a deep sense of restlessness during the night. This isn't random. Nighttime is when the veil between the conscious and subconscious is thinnest. And for those carrying generational burdens or ancestral callings, this is often when the soul tries to speak. What if your insomnia isn't a disorder, but a doorway? Think about it. The stillness of the night reveals what the noise of the day conceals. When everyone else sleeps, your spirit stirs. Unprocessed emotions, unresolved family patterns, intuitive messages, they rise to the surface, asking to be witnessed, not ignored. This is when you might feel everything all at once. Regrets, memories, questions you've buried deep. It can feel overwhelming, but it's also sacred. In Buddhist meditation, there's a practice called insight through stillness, where clarity emerges not from solving, but simply sitting with the truth. Your 3 a.m. wake-up call might not be a problem. It might be an invitation. Psychologically, the anxious mind at night is often a reflection of suppressed emotion during the day. For July-born souls, this suppression is common. You prioritize others, push through pain, and keep going. But at night, your true self knocks. So instead of resisting it, what if you welcomed it? What if you sat quietly and asked, what do I need to hear right now? What pain am I holding that isn't even mine? What part of me is ready to heal? Sleeplessness may not be a flaw in your system, but a sacred moment of alignment with your soul's deeper truth. If you've experienced this, the mysterious 3 a.m. awakening, you're not alone. Your spirit is just louder than your surroundings. What if your greatest pain was actually your greatest gift in disguise? People born in July often carry deep emotional scars from betrayal, abandonment, or simply carrying too much responsibility too early. But here's what's often overlooked. You didn't just survive those experiences, you transformed through them. This is the heart of emotional alchemy. Emotional alchemy is the soul's ability to take sadness, loss, and heartache and transmute them into wisdom, compassion, and creativity. It's the process of turning emotional heaviness into healing light, not only for yourself but for others. Have you noticed how people come to you with their deepest wounds? How strangers open up to you in random places? That's because your energy feels safe. You've walked through fire and you've emerged with the empathy only experience can give. This isn't something you learned in books. It's something life carved into you. And the world feels that. Buddhism teaches that every wound is a gateway to awakening. The lotus blooms from the mud, not despite it. And so do you. Your emotional intelligence, the way you read people, intuit feelings, sense what's left unsaid, isn't just sensitivity. It's spiritual technology. It allows you to guide, soothe, and inspire. It's why people say things like, I feel calmer just talking to you, or you really understand me. Psychologically, this is called post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where deep emotional suffering leads to extraordinary strength, purpose, and depth. July-born souls often embody this transformation. You've lived through what should have broken you, and now you help others break through. But here's the important part. Don't wait for others to validate your strength. Own it. You are the alchemist. You are the light bearer. You are the cycle breaker and soul soother. That's not ego. That's truth. Your scars are not shameful. They are sacred symbols of the soul work you've done. So the next time you feel too emotional, remember your emotions are your magic. You turn pain into peace, chaos into clarity. That is no small thing. If you were born in July, chances are you feel a fierce instinct to protect your loved ones, your peace, your inner world. It's not just nurturing energy, it's sacred guardianship. This protective quality is often misunderstood. People may call you overbearing, too intense, or clingy, but beneath that lies something profound, a soul wired for devotion. Whether it's to your family, your truth, or the people you love most, you don't just care, you defend. You hold people through their storms, often standing between them and their own destruction. And you do this not because it's your job, but because it's your nature. In ancient spiritual systems, this archetype is the sacred protector, the one who shields the emotional and spiritual well-being of the tribe. It's why people born in July often feel exhausted by conflict, not because you're afraid of it, but because you're constantly buffering it for others. And this comes with a quiet burden. Who protects you? You may have built your life around making others feel safe, but somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten to build that same safety for yourself. Psychologically, this often shows up as codependency, where your self-worth is tied to being needed. Spiritually, it means your soul's mission has veered off course from balance into sacrifice. Buddhism teaches the middle way, the path between extremes. Loving fiercely doesn't mean losing yourself. Protecting others doesn't require abandoning your own needs. You're allowed to say no, you're allowed to rest. You're allowed to guard your energy as fiercely as you've guarded others. True protection starts with self-honoring. You can't be a lighthouse if you let your flame go out, so if you've spent your life shielding others, this is your permission. Slip to shield yourself too, to create sacred boundaries, to honor your own peace, because your soul matters just as much as the ones you've sworn to protect. If this resonates, take a deep breath and whisper this to yourself. I deserve to feel safe too. Have you ever thought about what you'll leave behind? Not in material things, but in emotional impact? For July-born souls, legacy isn't just about money, titles, or achievements. It's about the emotional imprint you leave on others, how you made them feel, how you held space for them, and how your presence shifted the energy of every room you entered. This is your real inheritance and your real gift. Most people live their lives reacting to pain, but you, more than most, were sent here to repattern it, not just for your immediate circle, but for generations to come. That's the legacy of emotional healing. Quiet, invisible, yet deeply transformational. Maybe you've started speaking the truth no one else dared to say. Maybe you've stopped hiding behind perfection and started sharing your real feelings. Maybe you've made choices your ancestors couldn't or wouldn't. Each of those decisions ripples forward. Your children, or the children you influence, will feel it. Not through your words, but through your energy. You teach them, even silently, that healing is possible, that love can be safe, that emotions are not enemies, that cycles can be broken and rewritten. Buddhism teaches that everything is interconnected. What you heal in yourself, you heal in others. This is the heart of karma, not as punishment, but as possibility. You are not bound by your lineage. You are its evolution, and while others may never fully see the weight you've carried or the work you've done behind closed doors, the universe sees. The future feels it. You're not just healing, you're planting new spiritual DNA into your family line. Your emotional growth is an act of love that echoes far beyond your lifetime, so don't underestimate your impact. You are not just passing through this world. You are rewriting its emotional map, one honest moment at a time. If you feel this truth in your bones, comment, "I'm the shift," below, and know that you're not alone in this sacred mission. Bye. Now you may be seeing something you've always felt but couldn't quite articulate. Your life isn't random. It's rooted in purpose. Every emotion, every sleepless night, every burden you've carried in silence. It's all part of a deeper calling. You didn't just show up in this lifetime to go through the motions. You came to change something. Born in July, your soul chose to enter this world during a time when emotional healing is desperately needed. Not just in families, but in humanity. That's why you feel everything so deeply. That's why you often feel like an old soul trapped in a loud, disconnected world. You're not broken. You're attuned. This attunement is your compass. It's what drives you to seek truth even when it's painful, to forgive even when others hold grudges, to hold space even when you're empty. But here's what you need to remember. This mission doesn't mean suffering endlessly. The healer's journey also includes joy, laughter, peace, creative expression, spiritual connection. You are allowed to experience the beauty your soul has helped create in others. That's not indulgent, it's alignment. You didn't come just to carry the pain, you came to transform it into light. In Buddhist tradition, the Bodhisattva is the awakened being who stays on earth to help others awaken, not through preaching, but through presence, through kindness, through walking the path with humility and heart. That's you. Whether you call it a bodhisattva, a healer, an emotional alchemist, or simply someone who gives a damn, you are part of something sacred. You are part of the rising tide of emotional evolution. You're not alone in this. There are others like you, waking up, healing forward, one brave breath at a time. And now, the invitation is simple. Own it. Own your role. Own your voice. Own your right to be here, not just surviving, but guiding, healing, and loving out loud. If you're ready to fully step into that purpose, even in small, imperfect ways, say it to yourself now. I was sent here for this. I accept. You've carried a lot. You've felt more than most. Now it's time to anchor your healing mission into everyday habits, gentle practices that don't overwhelm, but nourish. Here are 7 soul-aligned takeaways to help you protect your energy, deepen your emotional wisdom, and embody the healing legacy you were born to create. Start each morning with emotional check-ins before checking your phone. Take a moment to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I need today? This 1-minute ritual grounds your day in emotional awareness rather than reactivity. As a July-born, this reconnects you with your core before external energy floods in. Use ancestral journaling to release old patterns once a week. Write a letter to an ancestor, known or unknown, expressing something you've carried that may not be yours. This simple act gives your subconscious a voice and honors your lineage while choosing a different path. End with, I release what no longer belongs to me. Practice the 3:30 grounding pause. If you often feel energetically overwhelmed, mid-afternoon or notice patterns of emotional crash, set a 3:30 p.m. alarm labeled, whose energy am I carrying right now? Take 3 deep breaths. Visualize your aura clearing like smoke lifting from a candle. Reclaim your emotional space. Create a protection phrase. Choose a simple phrase to silently repeat when you feel overwhelmed by others' emotions or energy. Example, this isn't mine to carry. This internal boundary reinforces your right to hold empathy without absorbing pain. Use moon rituals for emotional alignment. July-born souls often have deep connections to the moon, symbol of intuition, cycles, and reflection. On full moons, release. Write down what you're done carrying and burn or bury it. On new moons, set intentions. Ask, what kind of emotional legacy do I want to leave this month? Say, no, as a spiritual practice. You are not here to save everyone. You are not the emotional landfill for others' avoidance. Start small. Say no to something you'd usually say yes to out of guilt. Notice the peace that follows. Protecting your peace is part of your healing mission. End your day with the soul mirror. Ritual each night. Look into a mirror and softly ask yourself, did I honor my soul today? No judgment, just reflection. Some days you'll say yes, other days you'll course correct. This builds deep self-trust, the core of your path. Bonus affirmation. Mantra, repeat daily. I am the healer, not the holder. I transmute, not absorb. I was sent here to break, bless, and build again with love. Even small acts of self-love ripple into massive generational shifts. Choose one practice above to start with, and let it become a sacred part of your life rhythm. So here we are, a full circle. You were born in July, and perhaps for most of your life, you've wondered why things felt heavier, more complex, more emotional for you than they did for others. Now, you know, it's because you were sent here with a sacred mission to feel, to heal, and to transform the emotional legacy of your family, your lineage, and even the collective. You were never too sensitive. You were perfectly equipped. You were never weak for crying, caring, or carrying too much. You were strong enough to feel what others couldn't bear to face, and you were never alone. There is a quiet tribe of July-born souls all over the world, walking this same invisible path, tired but resilient, soft but mighty, scarred but shining. You are one of them. Every small act of healing you do, choosing love over fear, setting a boundary, telling the truth, resting instead of people-pleasing, is a ripple, a wave, a silent revolution. Never underestimate what you're doing, because every cycle you break, every heart you hold, every moment you choose peace over chaos, you heal generations, past and future. And that is no small thing. So I leave you with this question, and I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. What healing choice have you made recently that your ancestors couldn't or wouldn't make? Your answer might just inspire someone else to take that same step. If this video touched something deep in you, honor it. Like this video. Subscribe for more soul wisdom. It's a continuation of everything we've explored today. Until next time, stay soft, stay strong, and never forget, you were sent here for this.